Hi everyone. Thank you for joining today's webinar. So, got a couple of people still joining, I think, but we're going to kick off because conscious of people's time. So again, thank you everybody for joining. Today, we're going to talk around HR technology and how it's challenging the status quo and how to keep up with it. So we've got a couple of people that we've brought onto the webinar who I think are very key to having this discussion in the right way. First and foremost, I'm the host today. My name is Will Jackson. I'm numerous things for Zalaris, but key is I'm their Executive Vice President for the UK and Ireland. I'm also the Chief Marketing Officer. We also have Dag Oliver, who's our Chief Sustainability Officer. And we have Alexander Milton, who is the Vice President of Solutions. So I think it's important to kind of probably set the tone for the discussion today. And I think the why really, and some of the HR conversations, especially HR and payroll technology conversations I'm having are plentiful, I would say, around certain aspects. Key really is around compliance and legislation, and that's especially relevant in any form of global or international payroll. We're finding that technology is definitely a single platform preferred approach, but actually it's quite hard to find that to fit many international companies who have broad presence. Also, that brings in around that compliance and legislation aspect. Some of the other things we see are things like integration, and the expectation now is things should connect a lot easier. With the emergence of what I would say is SaaS-based technologies, connecting technologies is all the more important to get the best technologies for different aspects of what your business is doing. There's always also the expectation of increased accuracy. Payroll is one of those, I would say, business critical processes to any business that's, I would say, quite underrepresented. I've had a discussion even last week around this on a roundtable that I attended around, we all admit that it's one of those critical business processes for employees and the business itself. So actually, seeing it more as a utility, I think, is something that our CEO Hans Petter referenced recently in an article. Also, I think we've got there's a large aspect now of sustainable suppliers. Even in a technology or a service-based business, having sustainability and having sustainable or responsible sustainability in that supplier base is very important. And then ultimately things around security. All the more in the news we're seeing more issues around security and companies that hold a lot of personal information being attacked in that sense. So I think they're the kinds of things I think you'll probably find we talk about today. But crucially, I think I'm going to kind of ask Alexander a couple of questions. I think that's the way this is going to go. And about the adoption, I think we've talked about SaaS-based or cloud-based technologies as we emerge from this kind of dark ages of storing systems in servers in basements of buildings and things like that. Actually, now you can consume technology a lot easier because it is cloud-based. So, I mean, Alexander, I think my opening question really to you. So, thank you for joining first and foremost. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for inviting.
You're very welcome. And so, Alexander, you are a Vice President for Solutions in Zalaris. So you are the guy responsible for the tin that holds all of the magic that our customers consume from us. So, I mean, having, I would say, over probably 20 odd years of developing products for HR and payroll in particular, what sort of technologies do you find are challenging the status quo at the moment?
Yeah, like as you mentioned, we have been doing this for 20 years, and just some background information also to make the picture maybe also more complex. Today we have approximately around 37 products we have developed ourselves with 150 features on top of that. And also maintaining that has been a challenge in the past, I would say, before we kind of did a big change like 5 years ago or something. And that's also where we kind of came up with the new portal framework, the new tech behind it, easy to roll out to customer, and like one portal for everyone. And the tech is also important that the customers don't need to think about all the new solutioning coming out there or technology they want to explore. That's kind of our task to do for them. So what we then focus more on is what are their challenges, regardless of technology. That's kind of our domain. We fix that tech. We ensure it works for you. But then what problems do you have in your business, or challenges do you have in your business? And then how can we work on developing products which kind of fit into that domain or challenge they might have. So with working with new product, and that's kind of what we focus on, is to work closely with the customer. They always have something which not only they have as one single customer, all the customer might have similar request or challenge, and we can solve it and then put it into one of our releases we offer 4 times a year.
That's interesting, is because I think a lot of technology companies that I speak to, they're guilty. I think most would admit that they would create a solution and then kind of go and sell it. And actually, when you say you're working with the clients, it's actually trying to get a generic solution for multiple clients that can then be kind of slightly customized, would it be, or then utilized, if you like, throughout the business. And I think it avoids that build it and they will come kind of analogy, isn't it? It's almost like, well, we have such a broad customer base, we have quite a resource pool of what would work, what would be better. I read somewhere, I mean, Alexander, you mentioned there 37 products, 150 features. That's from a technology stack. Even I'm surprised that the 150 plus features or what. I mean, I knew about the technology numbers. Obviously, my responsibility is to market that. But I did also read somewhere, and correct me if I'm wrong, that we spend around, as a company, as an organization, we spend in excess of around 6 million euros a year to support the development and enhancement of our products. Is that right?
Yes. So if you look at all the product related cost we have, maintaining it, developing it, license cost, of course, and everything, is approximately 6 million euros on a yearly basis. So it's huge.
Wow. So that's a massive commitment, isn't it? To
yes.
Kind of. So I suppose we've got quite a high bar in delivery. I'm trying not to be a salesperson here, but it's very difficult. But I suppose the bar is very high in our expectations. If we're investing that much in a technology, you would expect it to be quite good, wouldn't you? Otherwise, we're doing something pretty wrong. Probably too much socials. I don't know, but no, that's and I especially like the way that you involve the customers in this journey. So that would imply to me that the customer relations have to be very good. In order for them to give up that time to help us develop something that improves their business, but actually also improves ours.
Yeah, I think it all started around 21 years ago with the first clients coming with an RFP. This is what we need, and then we just build it. and from there we have kind of developed it.
Yeah, we can do that. And then like a swan on the water with the legs going crazy, I guess. Okay. Oh wow, that's but in the multi-country aspect as well. I mean, obviously we've got a lot of clients who have international presence. I think Metza Group has 28 countries or something like that. I mean, how are we staying on top of not only satisfying a client but also their international requirements per unit, if you like, because each one of their countries will also be slightly different in one sense to the overall group, won't it? Every organization is like that. So working with the international clients, you find is that something that you regularly do as well?
Of course, and as you are mentioning, Metza as one of the newest customer in the family here. One of their reasons they selected Zalaris was the solutioning. Not necessarily that we can offer all the services we have, but from what they saw, that we have the platform where you can do global payroll reporting, which didn't cost extremely much, because you can buy a lot of cool tools, analytic tools and so on, but what they were after is payroll.
Got you.
And that was kind of regardless if they are in 28 countries or one country, they are in 28 countries, so kind of visualizing that in an easy way for the customer was also one of the reasons they selected it.
Okay, got you. And I mean, I got a question here is you know, if you work with a client or a group of clients to develop a set of products or to enhance a set of products, what do you see the kind of market adaptation is for those two customers that weren't involved in that process? You know, so obviously the go-to-market aspect of we've worked with clients, we've made these technologies, solutions and features better. how do we then position that to clients who weren't involved in that, who don't know? And I presume I'm answering my own question by saying we market it better or market it well. But do you see that there's an adoption for our clients to be open to explore these new things?
Yes, I was meeting up with a new customer of us now. You can name drop it, of course, Siemens Large Drive. Now they're called Innomotics. And some of them have been part of the RFP phase, but a lot of them haven't seen the solutioning at all. So they were never part of the decision making either. And they were very eager to just see and feel the solution, just to give a flavor of it. And I showed it. And the first response of one of the attendees was, if we're getting something close to what you're showing, we are extremely happy.
Yeah.
And adapting this into the business, I will say, is also a challenge for some customer in some countries, because some countries are more open-minded than other countries. That we very often see. I would say in the Nordics or Scandinavian countries, for example, they're very used to self-service solutions, doing stuff themselves. If you look at more on the continent, they're more used to that. It's centralized. HR doing it, or some super user are doing everything on your behalf. So they don't are that open-minded so often for self-service.
Don't name drop specific countries there, Alexander.
No.
But
we also see the trend. They are changing it now.
Yes,
so they are getting there, and the requests are that they're asking for more self-service solutions.
Yeah,
so they are changing.
You're almost absorbing that business cost of having that centralized function across the business, aren't you? So I suppose net there's a cost saving in that sense. But so what I'm hearing then, to kind of we've got a poll to do in a minute, but what I'm hearing then, just to summarize really, is, you know, in order to challenge that status quo and keeping up with it, what I hear from you is trying to, for us to look at trying to be more efficient in what we're offering as a portfolio, i.e. centralizing so we can do updates and upgrades one for all. And also, I think the most important thing is maintaining that client relationship, so we can actually work with clients to help us develop our products for their better kind of enjoyment or fulfillment of them. Would you say that's a bit of a high level?
Yeah, and I will also say that one of the key here is also extremely good user interface, to get a good user experience. That is also a very important key, and we are focusing on that on a daily basis to improve all our solutions.
Yeah.
So it's easy to navigate, easy to
the
use
best
them.
net promoter are the people that use our solutions, aren't they? So yeah, absolutely. You know, if you're
and
talking to a colleague who works in another organization and they say, oh well, our HR system's really cool, it's brilliant, you know, we can do this, and somebody else says, well, ours is really rubbish, it's kind of, you know, it's, again, I suppose it's that's what we want, isn't it? We want people to talk about People Hub, our solutions, and yeah, great. Okay, so I think we're going to thank you, Alexander, for that. That's brilliant. There are a few tools that we think, or Alexander thinks, I'm not throwing you under the bus there at all, but we think are, I would say, on trend right now. We're finding the demand for these is definitely there. So we're going to run a poll, and we're going to. What I would like to do is, what the question is what innovative HR tools do you think are the most relevant for your business at the moment? So we've got a few of those things that I would say I talk about the most within most of my discussions in my territory. But so if I go to the poll, I'm not sure. I presume a poll is going to arrive or appear somewhere. There we go. So on the poll, just for the question there is, what innovative HR tools do you think are the most relevant for your business? So we have pay on demand, for those that know, that's access to earned wages. That's a functionality which a lot of the suppliers are offering now through the technology. Alumni management. This is for when people have left the organization, they still have access to an area of the system or their employer's system where they can get their own things like pay slips or tax statements or any old information, in order that they can self-service once they've left the organization. The other one is CO2 tracking. So this is so vital for any organization that has a lot of travel and movement, employee movements going on, even commuting. So it's about tracking that carbon footprint to the human workforce moving around, or all of the above. I think that's the so I think that poll hopefully is live, and I can't see it, so I'm trusting it is. We're going to just leave that on. So it'd be interesting to see what you think is the most relevant. If it's all of them, that's fine. But again, pay on demand, access to earned wages, leavers accessing information the company has stored on them, and also then the CO2 tracking element to see what kind of carbon footprint your employees are leaving as they move around in their business tasks. Okay, so I'm hoping that the poll. Oh, there's been a bit of a mess with the poll, I'm being informed. So we're going to
maybe we could talk a little about the
yeah, absolutely. I think
pay on demand solution we have launched lately, or which kind of have been there for some years in the market, but maybe not so much in the Europe market. It comes from United States, basically, where they are requesting more rapidly to get money faster. And that was kind of also the idea when we started discussing it in Zalaris, that why do you need to wait a whole month to get your salary? If your dishwasher broke down today and you don't have the cash to pay for it, then you use your credit card with a high interest, and maybe you don't pay it, forget it, and then you are in the bad cycle again. And that's kind of what we want to do here. Don't use your credit card. Just come in and ask for some advance. Basically, that's what you are getting. So we have seen now more and more of them getting solution of our customer to kind of mitigate that.
I've sat on pay on demand is like literally the hottest topic, especially in the UK at the minute. I even like last week sat on a panel discussion and a round table. It always comes up because there's so many different aspects of it. And I've always said, as a supplier, it is my duty to provide this if my clients want it. Otherwise, a competitor might do that. So I think, but then I think as an operational business, you think, well, actually, that's people accessing earned wages, and there's a whole ethical things around the controls around that, and the social responsibility you might have as an employer. Then you have the counter argument for employees saying, well, it's my money, I want it when I want, thank you very much. You know, and then you've got the whole finance aspect thinking, well, that's a cash balance that's being withdrawn from the business before payday. I mean, you could literally have, I mean, people do have webinars on its own, but I think the reality is as Zalaris, this is a solution. It is being adopted in different territories with more aggression than not. But I think we have to have something as a facility for it, because I think that will be the expectation, I think. And I think the one thing I felt around like alumni, so people that leave an organization, e-pay slips, for example, it's such a simple solution to provide that resolves a very basic problem. So 3 employees might leave over the course of, or if you've got a higher churn than that, tens of hundreds of employees might leave, depending the industry. And if you've had e-pay slips in your business for a long time, suddenly, unless they've been printing them out every week or month, they won't have them. And then they go for a mortgage application or a bank loan or something where they need to evidence a historic income. And then what do? They ring up the employer, the previous employer, and request that information. Suddenly the clock starts ticking on a cost to provide that. And then the print element of that, the time element of that, the post element of that, the data security element of that is a big risk, because how do you validate that they are the ex-employee? So the simple solution is, well, give the ex-employee access to that area that's secure, where they can take that information that's theirs, that's then also only retained for the right amount of time through GDPR requirements, so they can access that information. So then if you think about it, I think, and I think for me, the alumni management one was really simple yet so cool. And then on the CO2 tracking, Dag, we're going to come to you shortly, don't worry. Around the whole sustainability of it. I mean, just I travel a lot with business, and actually, and we use the travel and expenses solution that tracks all aspects of how I'm traveling a lot this week, and it gives me a carbon footprint of me as a human in this business, and I probably knock it out of the park, which is not a good thing. So it does make you think as a business, how do we reduce that footprint? So speaking of these HR products and features, Dag, we have a lot of, or we hear a lot of companies setting their priorities in place for sustainable products, the focus on ESG. What's your take on this? Why are we focusing so much on ESG? And hello, Dag, by the way, Dag, our Chief Sustainability Officer, the best person to ask that question.
It's a good question, and what we have seen is corporations has possibly been better at putting ESG and sustainability on their agenda than many countries have and should have been. It's come up from a necessity to do something, and we are used to running responsible businesses, and ESG and sustainability work straight into that. So and a sustainable business is actually good for business, so that's why it makes sense. That it also reduces risk, increasing brand perception amongst key stakeholders is also a very good bonus to this. If you then add on top of everything that EU and various other both national and international entities are now putting fairly strict legislature on what to report on and so on, it's just this will be part of our just way to run our businesses from day to day moving forward.
And Dag, why do you think that's necessary for sustainability in business today? Why do you think that is necessary? I think I know, and I'm going to offer that in a minute, but I would like to know from you is why do you think that's a necessity, if you like?
I think the very short version, we have a responsibility for protecting our planet and just make sure that there are resources there for the generations to come. We are parents, we have responsibilities for this. But it's also as important that this is not just about us, this is also about running our businesses. This is about what our customers want, what our stakeholders want, and the demands that are put on every company today on having control of their supply chain, both when it comes to the social side of sustainability as well as the environmental side. And
yeah, and as far as vendor selection goes as well, when I look at it from a sales or a business development to business expansion point of view, I do see, especially when we're responding to RFPs or tenders or requests for proposals and information, I do see that those sections now around ESG are so plentiful that our responses are having to be very detailed. And actually that's a social responsibility that we have as well to reply to that in full, because I want to be, and I think we are, a very sustainable business, and I want that to be attractive to the client. But there's also a lot of assessments clients are doing in their vendor supply chains as well around this, and I think that's a really interesting area of the market that I'm seeing growth in at the moment. Is corporations with big supply chains, they want to have the most sustainable suppliers in that, and they're getting quite savvy as to how they're assessing that as well.
Yeah, and the reason is obvious. Very shortly, this is not a voluntary reporting thing any longer. This will become mandatory. So preparing your supply chain for what's to come is good for business.
Yeah, brilliant. And I mean, what do you think tricky question really in one sense, but what do you think HR's role is in creating sustainable workplaces? Where can they start? What can HR do?
First of all, this shouldn't be news to HR at all, because they've been running sustainable businesses for so long. It's just it comes in a new wrapping. If you look at ESG, the S in the ESG, the social side, this is what HR are already experts on. So maintaining a diverse, happy workforce is very much on the sustainability agenda.
So we're in the right kind of industry segment to really be kind of at the forefront of being a good sustainable supplier for HR and kind of payroll solutions, then, aren't we? I mean, that, and I suppose that's the next obvious question is, how are we prioritizing that for our customers?
We have a role. We act where we see that we can make our own sustainability journey easier, and also do the same for our customers. So we have, as with many other things, and in Alexander's product portfolio, we control a lot of good data on behalf of our customers. Your example with travel, we know from a travel expense bill, we know where people travel, how long they stayed, how they traveled, and so on. So matching these data together with proper sustainability emission factors, and voila, we have a footprint from a business travel.
And it's interesting actually you mentioned that, because I mean I'm kind of loosely involved with what's going on the kind of the product development side. Obviously I have to be from a marketing perspective, but what I do notice now, or I have noticed recently, since we launched this CO2 tracking app especially, actually there's been loads of changes in our areas of the business. For example, when I'm actually putting my travel and expense details in now, you know, if I'm taking a flight, you know, or taking a train, it's being a bit more, it's prompting more, you know, instead of I'm flying and I put the details in, it asks me where I'm flying from and to. So there's a lot more detail when I'm actually processing my own travel and expenses. That is, I know why it's asking that, because I see the app on the dashboard with my carbon footprint kind of going up as I'm putting my travel and expenses in. And I'm always prepared. I always put my details in before the trip, so I have less admin to do at the end, and the system allows me to do that. But and it's interesting. You know, I'm going to take a train to get to here. I'm going to get to this airport. I'm going to fly there. I'm going to get a cab here. You know, I'm going to get those kind of, and I just see it kind of clocking up. And for me as an individual, it makes me more socially aware of actually, hold on a minute. It's not just a cost consideration of should I travel? Can I utilize technology to have that meeting instead? Actually, there's another consideration now that's actually on that footprint. You know, why am I going there? Can this be done in an alternative way? So I think that you're right, from a HR perspective, having that social responsibility actually starts to fall on me. And yes, I do care, and I should be able to do something about it. And having the technology that helps me make that assessment has been quite valuable, I think, for that.
And
sorry,
part of it falls on you, but it also allows us as companies and to have a more holistic look at the whole, in this case on travel, so to have a better understanding of where we travel and how we travel, and the effects of it, not just from an environmental side but also the financial side, because this matches up.
Yeah, and the funny thing is as well, is especially a company like Zalaris' footprint, well, 16, 17 countries that we're present in, and there's 1,000 of us kind of, you know, doing stuff, was actually, like you say, not just a one country company that could look at it. For Zalaris, that's probably very interesting information for you know, the C-suite, really, that they can see across the whole business internationally, you know, that kind of data. And I wonder how many companies at this time can do that, because I know obviously we can, and that's the advantage, I suppose, of using our own solutions too. Okay, so I've got a couple of questions left, I think, that's all right, and then I'm going to sum up. I'm just conscious of time. So Dag, to you again, it's the question is, how can HR create an agile HCM setup to be able to adapt to the changing technology as and when needed? Ooh.
That's a mouthful.
I have to read that one myself again.
And again, short answer: stay on top of technology. That with everything going on in the world now, digitalization is key. Think 6 months back and see how many articles you'd find about ChatGPT and OpenAI. Suddenly they're both household names, and everyone's scattering about wondering how will this affect us? So staying on top of technology is very much there.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
And on that, it's not easy to know where we are going, but maintaining a roadmap and adjusting and adapting it moving forward is better than not having one. So just good roadmaps and use your employees to trigger innovation. It's that's where the biggest resource we have is.
Employees and clients, absolutely. The users and the customers, absolutely start there. And Alexander, I've worked with you long enough to know that your roadmap will be forensic around these aspects. I mean, and you touched upon there, Dag, around AI, ChatGPT. I mean, will there be one day where, you know, you'll interact so just solely with something that's so intelligent that actually can answer all of your questions around your HR and payroll? I mean, is that what's going to happen? Can I pick up the phone and I say there's a problem with my payslip, I don't understand it? Will that be a thing of the past, and will something like AI just suddenly just be able to tell me, or even not even tell me, just process, or I don't know what will happen. So what sort of things, Alexander, you see on the horizon, and how do you think we should be preparing for all this new technology in your roadmap?
To answer the first question, just to say straight out there, now these days we are rolling out our own chatbot, Sally, to all our customers. Of course, she's not that advanced as OpenAI and ChatGPT and so on, but we are of course looking into how we could utilize some of that part. So I will say in the future, the chatbot will be that smart. Now, it's not that smart. It's still in the early phase. But then I will say the key,
What? It's better than the paperclip you used to get in Microsoft Word. Do you remember that one? Looks like you're writing a letter. Okay, it's better. Okay, I quite like Sally. I must admit, I use Sally a bit, but then I'm a bit old school, so you know, I just
you pick up the phone.
Yeah.
Soon you can talk to Sally also. But I will say maybe the most important skill set we all need to have, not only HR but everybody, is the change management. Be open-minded. The world is changing so fast with all the new tech coming in, all the new solutions. We need to change ourselves how we are working. So I think that's how I see it. If you are open-minded, you don't need to be a tech person. You don't need to have an IT background to work in HR, as long as you are willing to learn and do that change and be part of that change which are happening now, and give more responsibility out to the business with all the new tools which are out there, so they can do the job themselves. Of course, it will be less work on transactional HR for the HR department, but then they can concentrate more on the tactical, the strategic part, and not just generating a report and send it to 20 managers or whatever.
Yeah, and I think also we talk about technology and the advancement of it and keeping up with it. There's also a big expectation, isn't there, to how technology should be and how it's going to be. So we talked around AI, but actually the intuitive nature of it as well is, there's nothing worse than trying to have to figure stuff out. I mean, I remember HR systems 20 years ago where you'd have a week's training to use them. I mean, people forget that how much it's advanced in such a short space of time. We hear train the trainer and all this, you think, oh wow. But now, I know there's solutions on the market now, especially ours. No one trained me how to use it. And there are still some places you think, how do I get that again? And that's just a memory thing actually. But again, it's around not gamification of systems, but actually in a one way, we shouldn't need to be shown how to use them as well. And I know, speaking for the Zalaris solutions that I'm very familiar with, I don't need any training. Actually, the weirdest thing is it's awareness of what it can do. I always feel I'm not getting the most out of it, or there's areas I should be using more, but I'm not sure. So signposting almost, isn't it? And that's a journey, that's an experience thing, or a kind of an awareness thing. And again, that comes down to change management, I think, as well, isn't it? Did you know you can do this way instead of picking up the phone, or instead of running your own report? It's there. And I think then it becomes almost a marketing within the client to the employee general population of what that system can now do. And I know we do these general releases now, public around what is new. What can you now do? What have we, this 6 million euros, you'd expect quite a big bang for your buck every, half year of new stuff. And it's staying on top of that and keeping that communication open. And I know that's something that we talk about quite regularly.
And that's also a challenge, I will say, for some, not for some, but for everybody, because it's so much new stuff coming in. Yeah. And I will say that's also why our Sally, our chatbot, is also now being released to all our customers, because you are attending a webinar, but then in half a year time, a new webinar appear, and maybe you have forgot about the last one, or you forgot to attend that one. But then having Sally, you can ask Sally, can I do this? How can I do that? And Sally will point you straight to the solution and how to use it.
So you think Zally is going to be where you're going to spend 5.999 million euros? You think that's where it's going to go? I need a Zally in my life, honestly, because there's so much tech doing the same thing as well. It's almost quite overwhelming. I feel like actually a prompt is just a perfect thing. So vote Team Zally for me, guys. Look, I'm conscious of time. Thank you so much. I'm not even going to sum up, to be honest with you, because I think this has been a really kind of cool conversation to have. There's so many different conversations we could have just off the back of each and every one we've had. So hopefully we can come together again and do another one of these quite soon, and maybe pick off one of these things in a bit more detail. For you guys attending, I'd be really interested to have your feedback about what kind of floated your boat. What do you want to know kind of a bit more about? Not from a sales aspect, but did we touch on something you thought, oh, hang on, I want to know a bit more of that? I would encourage you to get in touch. You can go to our website and you can do that quite easily, and you can contact us. Please do so. We're also quite available on like social media channels as well, so you can find us all on LinkedIn. I think that's the place to go these days. But ultimately, I just want to thank everybody who's attended. I want to thank Dag and Alexander for joining. I want to also thank the team behind the webinar who've made this possible. And yeah, so hopefully we'll see you all again soon, and thank you again.
Thank you.